Hi, hello, welcome to my reselling channel, Flippin Hippos. I'm Star. Today we're going to talk about why resellers should not box themselves into selling just one category. Now, there are pros for becoming an expert or niching down and learning several categories so well that they become your wheelhouse, but perhaps don't box yourself into just one category. We have a lot of technology at our fingertips these days, AI, ChatGPT, the Google AI. There are just so many ways for us to very quickly learn about items or categories that are new to us that used to take hours of research. So there's no excuse for any of us not to be branching out and trying new things. It is best, as I said just a few seconds ago, to really get to know a couple categories, really become an expert in those, but don't walk yourself into just those. Remember that trends change really fast in our industry. What is hot today can completely cool off tomorrow. Platforms change algorithms, buyer demands shift, trends will cycle in and out. Economic conditions also affect spending. So if you only sell one thing, your business becomes vulnerable when that category slows down. So diversification will protect your income, especially if you can learn how to have things that kind of trend in and out at the same times. So when one thing's doing well, this one's just doing okay, and then they'll switch. You're leaving money behind if you're not willing to try new things. When you're outsourcing and great inventory appears randomly in front of you, and you only buy your one specific category, you could be walking right past profitable items because they don't fit your niche. I'm not saying you have to buy everything in the thrift store. I'm not saying you shouldn't, number one, prioritize the categories that you mostly sell or that are your wheelhouse. I always go to clothing first. Then I'll go to hard goods. My friend Karen always goes to hard goods first, and then she'll look at clothes. She's not passing up on the really good deals she might find in the clothing, but she goes to her wheelhouse first and prioritizes that, and that's how you should source. Prioritize what you sell the most of, what you're really good at, and then kind of have a gander, kind of meander around and poke at other things and see if anything stands out to you so that you're not leaving money behind. Train yourself to recognize value and not just categories. And then remember that seasonal slowdowns hit different categories differently. I think that one's pretty much self-explanatory. Coats will sell all year, but more coats will sell in winter. Swimwear spikes in spring, not summer. So you want to get all your swimwear in the spring and still load it in the summer. Toys, we all know, and jewelry and clothing that's new at tags explodes during Q4. Outdoor gear peaks in summer. Home decor splurges around the holidays. So having multiple categories, and I haven't even, this was just a few examples. There's a lot more out there. But having multiple categories like this can create that year-round balance. And sometimes your usual category can dry up. You can have one bad sourcing week for your usual suspects. Maybe the stores are picked over, yard sale season ended, wholesale costs are rising, or your competition increases. If you only know one category, sourcing then becomes stressful. But if you know several categories and you're able to pivot, you always have options. And one bad sourcing week, say for me, as an example, I go to the thrift store and there's no plus size women's tops or jeans or even plush worth purchasing. I know I have a 10-pound box of jewelry at home. I'll be okay. I can list my jewelry. Or I can look around the store and see if there's other things. But having that one bad week isn't going to destroy my whole business. Sellers who sell in multiple categories also adapt faster. The best long-term resellers always quickly learn how to adjust. Those who can pivot quickly will always fare better. They'll be able to find out what's selling now, what's easy to source, what has demand. If the shipping rates go up, what can I sell that's going to cost less to ship? If things are fluctuating where you source, where can I pivot? What can I buy? Sellers that learn how to sell in different categories adapt faster, and sellers who learn how to adapt learn how to sell in different categories. It goes hand in hand. Flexibility is a superpower in reselling. And I'm going to repeat that because it's super important. Flexibility is a superpower in reselling. And did you know, I need to take a drink of my drink room. Platforms reward variety. Different platforms perform better for different items. Here's some examples. You might already know this, but we're going to go over it anyway. Etsy, vintage and handmade. Poshmark, fashion. eBay is good for almost everything. Whatnot is good for collectibles, jewelry, plush, trading cards. And Mercari, trendy, casual items, sometimes electronics. Depop, I feel, is more Y2K fashion and more affordable fashion. So like every platform has its strengths. I still list all the things in all the places because you never know when a buyer is going to buy your item or see it on what platform where, but I prioritize. With the exception of Etsy, I can't list all the things on Etsy because they actually have very strict rules. You can only list vintage and handmade. But like with Poshmark, I prioritize jewelry and clothing first, and then if I have comics, collectibles, things like that, I'll put on Poshmark. So I do list everything everywhere, but it's good to know each platform's strengths or where they do better so you can prioritize those types of items. And knowing all these different categories helps you maximize a lot of different platforms. And cross-posting is super important if you're going to be a successful reseller. Burnout is real, folks. Burnout is real. It's not just working too many hours and not finding that work-life balance. But if you're doing the same exact schedule every single day and photographing and listing the same exact items every single day, that can get very boring and very exhausting very quickly. When you mix categories, sourcing is more fun, listing is more interesting, it helps your creativity, it prevents boredom, it might even create more excitement and desire to get to work each day. If you went to a church sale and bought a box of items that are all different to you, new categories, that might create an excitement to really sit down and get those items photographed and listed and learn about them. So I feel like listing all the same things all the time really does lead to burnout, and then doing different items once in a while, different things, can bring in new excitement for what we do. You don't want your business to turn into repetitive factory work. Keep that in mind. And then remember, there are so many types of buyers out there. There are buyers who can only afford the $20 Gap jeans. There are buyers who want to pay $80 for mother jeans or can afford to. There are plus size. There are average size. There are skinny, like the 00 jeans. All different sizes of buyers. I was going to say women. Women have all kinds of sizes available. There's men that have the tall and big and tall size. There's some people that are trendy and only buy what's trending and in fashion. There's people who look for just band t-shirts. There's grandmas who shop. There's so many different types of people in this world that have many different budgets that allow them to spend different amounts of money, and different types of people who wear different items. If there's that much of a variety in buyers in just clothing and fashion, think about all the other buyers who are looking for all the other categories. It's almost as if there's a buyer for everything. And I have always felt like I want to have the widest variety and cast the biggest net. And that's why I will sell mall brands in Walmart. I look for vintage and high-end. Sure, those folks have money to spend. I feel like there's more folks who want affordable clothing. So I try to provide both in all kinds of fashion and everything. And that's, like I said, just within the clothing category. Within each category that all of us can sell, there's so many types of people in this world that have different amounts of money to spend and different ideas of what they're looking for. And if you can have more items in your store, you're going to get a bigger variety of buyers. You're going to get more buyers. Cross-category selling increases opportunities for bundles and repeat customers. And look, you're going to learn more as a reseller because every new category that you branch out into teaches you new keywords, materials, brands, history, trends, pricing strategies. And the broader your knowledge becomes, the stronger your instincts will get. You will always be learning, which is super important. You must always be learning in life in general, but especially as a reseller to stay successful and relevant. So you learn much faster and you learn much more when you're branching out. And remember, unless you are a super, super successfully niche down like bakery or recognizable brand, your goal is not identity. We're not Coca-Cola here, guys. We're not Maybelline, right? We're all resellers on platforms just trying to make a living, just trying to make a profit. I don't need an identity. I don't need everyone to know that Flippin' Hippos only sells, or the Hippo Hut, that the Hippo Hut only sells plus size women's tops. That's not important to me. On social media, my identity is important as Flippin' Hippos because that's kind of recognizable and I have like my community. But when it comes to reselling, I don't really care if anyone on eBay remembers that it was the Hippo Hut. I want to reach as many buyers as possible and not have an identity. Now, there are some resellers who have built a serious brand and an identity, and this does not apply to them. But most of us are just out there finding whatever we can to source, listing it, and trying to make as much profit as we become. As a reseller, you don't have to become the shoe seller, the plush seller, the jewelry seller. You can just become a reseller who knows how to make money. Specializing can be helpful, but depending on just one category can become a trap. So specializing in several categories is absolutely helpful to be an expert in some things, but don't just depend only on one or two categories because you can become trapped. The more adaptable you are as a reseller, the more stable your business will become. And remember, the resellers who survive long-term are never the resellers who stayed rigid. And this doesn't just apply to categories. There's changes that happen on the platforms all the time. There are changes in our world, and I talk about adapting all the time. When you can pivot, you're going to survive long-term. When you stay rigid, you will not survive and you will not be successful. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything you saw in this video, let me know in the comment section down below. Or if you want to comment about reselling in general or anything, I love to hear from you guys. I do respond to everybody. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Help me feed some hungry hippos. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.